Thank the bees as being the sponsors for this video. Without them, it would not be possible. It's time to get the honey supers off of our hives. We've actually had a pretty good year this year. We've gotten almost about 5 gallons of honey so far, but we still have a few honey supers on there. We put the excluder on the other day, which allows them to get out of the honey supers but not get back in, so it'll be easier to get them. This one's empty totally. We had put it on later in the year, just giving them something so if they wanted to add more honey, they could. This one is pretty good and full. All like capped honey, which looks great. That one's a full one with one bee. Come on, buddy. Go on home. We should put this in the house before they start showing back up. So it's been a few weeks since we pulled the honey supers off. Now we have to close the hives up for the winter, which will entail putting on their bottom board, putting on a spacer so that we can put food into them in the winter time, whether it's sugar or honey or fondant. Then we put some Homestead above it to help take up some of the moisture that the hive gives off as they are trying to keep themselves warm in the winter. And then we wrap them with what they're called a bee cozy, because it basically looks like the cozies you put over a drink, but it goes over the whole hive. So we'll be doing that today. So when we're closing up the hive, like I was saying, what we're going to have to do is put a spacer on it, so that way we can put food in for them in the middle of the winter. And then we're going to put some Homestead on as well. And the Homestead, just as they keep themselves warm, they generate a lot of heat, but moisture too, so it helps soak up some of the moisture so it's not just hitting cover underneath and dropping back down on top of them. And then we'll be putting in a bottom board, which basically stops the wind from coming up underneath them in the winter and helps them keep the hive a little bit warmer. And then we'll be putting on that bee cozy, like I said. So this inside cover we'll be putting in. Yeah. So again, there's the spacer. And then the Homestead, the inside cover, and then our bee cozy. Put a couple of rocks on it in the winter time so the wind doesn't blow them off. The last thing you do want to do is make sure the cozy's not all the way down so that they have a space to still be able to have airflow in and they can get out. And that's it.
So we got the last honey super off the hives, and we're going to go ahead and extract the honey. We share this honey spinner that we have with my dad, and he'd like to extract his too, so we're going to get ours done so we can pass the extractor on to him. But otherwise you can leave honey right inside these frames. They're capped, as you can see, with wax, so it's perfectly safe to leave in here as long as we want, but we're going to get it out so we can pass along the spinner. So the first step is just to uncap the wax. This is a tool we recently got, which we love. It makes it look real easy. You can also use a knife, which we've had less success with. And then there's another capping tool I'll use and show you for the ones that do not uncap as I do this. This is a sticky job, and you do your best to contain it. So this little fork here will just pull off the caps on the ones that didn't come off. There's not too many actually. As you spin, the honey will come out of each little cell, but also the wax will. So then you go through a straining process, pull out a bit of the bits that you don't want in there, basically. The idea is to get as close to the surface as you can, so you're not wasting honey. If you gouge this out, you're going to pull out honey as well, so that's why I really like this tool. And this one too, there's really no waste, it's just pulling off the top. So you add the frame directly in the spinner, and this spinner holds 3 frames, so we have to get 2 more done. So extracting honey is a messy job. So we throw down a tarp on the ground. But unfortunately for us, it is an indoor job. We've tried doing it outdoors, and if the bees are still active, then you will have a swarm of bees around you. They can smell the honey. Ask us how we know. But also, if you try to do it outdoor in the cooler weather, then the honey will get too stiff and not come out easily in the extractor. So it's actually better to be in a warmer house, and free flowing like this is. It's really warm because of the wood stove. So these are things you learn with practice. And we're still learning. You can see how, because it's indented, it didn't take out all the caps. So that's why this tool is so great. You can go back. I don't want to leave any honey behind if we can help it. But if some is, that's okay. It's going to go back in the hives next year and the bees will use it. The other reason we don't just cut out the honey like some people do and then let it just drain on its own is that you're destroying all these cells, these wax cells they made. And then next year, the bees are going to spend a lot of their energy recreating, remaking all these wax cells. So we want to get them busy on collecting nectar and making honey, not on building cells. So we're really focused on trying to create less damage as possible on these frames. Now, if you wanted the whole comb, which is really cool, you can just cut it out. All right, that's 3. Time to spin.
Is hopefully one side. As you can see, it's very clean, which is nice. Pulls it right out. Now we just gotta flip it and do the other side. Yeah, get a little yummy treat. That's one of the bennies. Good.
You cap the bottom, yeah.
Oh, good thinking. Yeah. That would be. Yeah, watching it all run out on the floor.
Messy.
Side 2. Side's good too. Perfect. What we'll do is, on a really nice warm day where we know the bees are actually going out a little bit, because now it's dropping down into the below freezing at night, we'll actually put these back out right outside their hive so they can go out and clean off any of the honey that's left on there. I don't know if you can see that, but the bottom of the spinner is full of honey. We'll probably be able to spin 3 more frames, and then we'll have to take some out and put it into the jars.
These frames are not as full. We had extracted honey previously the end of the summer, We got 5 gallons of honey, which is a lot of honey. Our daughter got married here on our property, and a little favor for the people who came was a little jar of honey, so we did some of this work earlier in the season.
So when we take the honey out of the extractor, it goes through a thicker sieve to start with, which takes out all of the real big pieces of any wax or anything left in there. We kind of set this up. We took a cover to a 5-gallon bucket and just cut the hole in it so it would hold the sieve in place. What always amazes me when I look at this is how many little bees it took, how many trips back and forth to the hive to create this honey. It's such a blessing. Hold on, don't push it.
We ended up with about 1 gallon of honey from this honey super that we just extracted. Earlier in the season, we took off the honey supers that were already ready for our daughter's wedding. We wanted to extract the honey to give out some little gifts. So we ended up with, what was it?
5 gallons of honey
yeah.
the last time in a gallon, this time so about 6 gallons
Yeah,
total.
that's a substantial amount of honey. That's very unusual in your first year with the bees. We had to buy bees this year because they didn't overwinter. I'm ready. We will check on their food, sort of supplement it a little during the winter. We'll show you that as the season goes along. But for now, they're semi-insulated and they have full honey stores. So we're crossing our fingers. Beekeeping is actually a little challenging nowadays, but
we also put some hay around the base of the hives to help keep the wind from just really blowing into them really hard, to kind of give them a little bit of a wind block. So we just took some of our bales of hay and stacked them around it. Example of the differences in the honey. It's crazy. So the jar on the right is from earlier in the season. The jar on the left is the later stuff we just pulled out of the hive, which is the wildflower. It's just crazy the difference in the coloring.
today we're making Thai chicken soup. Basically we're going to use the chicken that we roasted the other night. So much meat left, you know, when it's just 2 people eating, you end up having a lot of roast left. So I'm just going to pick all the chicken off of this. We save all the bones for bone broth. This is a great soup to have for a crowd. We're actually having company tonight, so I'm going to whip this up now. We prefer to have most of our food cooked before company gets here. We're not really interested in cooking when people are around. We'd rather be in their company, you know, talking, spending time. So this is one that this has always been sort of a crowd favorite. We do it quite often. It's really rich. It's really delicious. And, you know, a lot of the ingredients here we grow on the homestead. We raise our own chicken, pasture raised, and then we grow our own carrots and garlic, and we make our own broth. So the base is really everything from our land. It also calls for some ginger and coconut milk, which obviously we do not have in Maine, but just a can of coconut milk makes all the difference to this soup. Goes from pretty much maybe even kind of a basic chicken soup to something totally different. This chicken has a lot of meat left. I'll actually keep the skin for the bone broth too. It's just loaded with the spices we put on. Plus we'll get more nutrients out of it. So I've pulled all the chicken off the bones, and I'm just going to place them in a bag that goes into the freezer for the next time we make a bone broth. We have it available. This is full. So this recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of minced ginger. This looks like a lot of ginger, but because it was frozen, it's actually quite airy. And as it defrosts, you'll see it will really shrink down. So you do have to, you know, more look at the size of the root that you're shredding as opposed to the pile you're making, because it looks like a real lot. But that's super easy to do. So we need 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. Obviously, it just depends on the size of your garlic. This garlic is huge. That's easily 2 cloves. And this one is quite large too. I'm gonna still do 4. 4 roughly. Technically 3. We grow 2 varieties of garlic. This one is Magic and the other one is Bogatir. Bogatir seems to last a little bit longer without going to sprouting in the spring, so we try to use the Magic up first. Dice up the carrots into bite-sized pieces, and then we'll have all the ingredients ready to go. Once we start making the soup, we're going to add everything except the rice, which we're going to add 1 company's here about 20 minutes before we want to cook. So I've added the ghee, the oil, to the pan, and now I'm adding the garlic and the ginger, and we're just going to saute that for about 1 minute. Add 1 tablespoon of curry powder and 2 tablespoons of your flour of choice. Gonna add approximately 1/4 cup of white wine. Mix it to incorporate it and break up the flour. And then add your can of coconut milk. Once all your flour bits are incorporated, you're going to go ahead and add your bone broth. We're adding 2 quarts. and 1/2 a cup of soy sauce. We like to add a couple hot chili peppers and just let them cook in the soup while the carrots are cooking, and we remove them when it's time to eat. We'll go ahead and add the carrots and all the shredded chicken and cook until the carrots are tender, and then we can shut it off and wait for our guests. Hope you get a chance to make this soup for some of your friends. It's easy to make in advance and it's always a hit. We hope you enjoy and look forward to seeing you on the next one.